when it finally became real, I had signed the contract and we were, in the process, and they'd assigned the editor and assigned the cover artist. And I was working with all these people. I had many moments where I just stopped and thought, what am I doing? Who am I? Nobody's going to want to read this.
Welcome to She Coaches Coaches, the podcast where we have thoughtful, honest conversations about what it really takes to build a thriving coaching business. I'm your host, Candy Motzek, and before building my business, I spent years as a senior corporate leader. Now, today, I work with coaches who are smart, well-trained, and deeply capable, and who want clarity about how to grow in a way that feels aligned and financially sustainable. On this show, I sit down with successful coaches to explore the real decisions behind their success, how they got started, what shifted as they grew, and the mindset and business choices that helped them gain momentum without burning out. Whether you're early in your coaching journey or refining a business you've already built, She Coaches Coaches is here to offer perspective, confidence, and grounded insight to support your next chapter. To learn more about how I work with people, go to my website, stepintosuccessnow.com. And now let's dive in. Hey, everyone. Welcome to this episode of She Coaches Coaches. I'm your host, Candy Motzek, and I have a special guest here for you today. My guest is Jodi Casstevens-Short, and I will tell you a little bit about her before we dive into the conversation. She is an author, and here is a little bit about what she does. In Willow Springs, love is in the air, and so is murder. Jodi Casstevens-Short is the award-winning author of the Willow Springs Cozy Mystery series, including Murdered by the Books and Murdered by the Blooms, inspired by real people and small-town life. Her mysteries blend friendship, romance, quirky characters, and deadly secrets. Her fictional world is populated by familiar faces, including a firefighter inspired by her husband and two spirited schnauzers based on her own dogs. She was a teacher for many years before retiring, and she's shared with me that when she retired, she switched to her author hat. So, Jodi, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me today.
So I'd love to know, what is exciting right now? Like in the work that you do, what are you most excited about?
At the moment, I think there are two things I'm most excited about. My second book that you mentioned before, Murdered by the Blooms, just came out this past fall. So I'm having a blast going to book signings and book events and sharing it with readers and hearing from those who have read it what they thought. The feedback has been good. The second is I'm pushing as hard as I can to get book 3 of this series finished. So I'm excited to get that done, get it into my publisher's hands, and then as quickly as we can get it out to the readers.
I know that this is sort of an odd question, but why cozy mysteries? Like, what is it about that genre that really attracted you?
I love to read it myself. Anytime I'm not sure what to read, it's my go-to. And these characters started populating my head many years ago, and they are loosely based on all the people in my life, my family, my friends, coworkers, neighbors. And I let them live in my head for a little while. And once I did, they made friends with each other and the plot line just started to come out. And I guess it's for my own love of cozy mysteries. The plot line came out mysteriously. So I knew that I had to use these characters to tell a story about mystery and romance and plot twists. Of course, all of them that come out, as all cozies do, with a good ending.
Yeah. Now, I know you're not a typical guest that I would have on the show, but, for the guests that are listening, I love cozy mysteries. And so when I saw that Jodi was looking for some shows to be on, I was like, sure, this will be fun. This will be a great conversation. I usually listen to them on Audible when I'm out walking or driving or whatever. I just love that listening to the story, listening to the characters develop and everything. They're so much fun. When you are writing, what's the most fun thing about writing the next book?
I think the most fun thing about writing the next book is seeing how the characters that are in each book, those that go from book to book, how they grow and how they change. Sometimes I start thinking they're going to do one thing, and by the time I get to the end of the next book, they've done something that even surprises myself. I also really enjoy writing the dialogue between the characters. I know a lot of authors say dialogue is hard, but I find it fun and I find it entertaining. I have the voices of the people that I've based the characters on in my head, and I try to make the character in the book sometimes sound like that person. So those are some of the things that are most fun for me when I'm writing the next book.
Okay. I've got to ask you this. How
Okay.
you create the book, you write the book, and yet the characters might transform in a way that you're not expecting. What is that about?
Well, I start off, I'm one of those writers that starts off with an outline. And so I think I know exactly where I want my story to go. And then I'll be writing, and a different idea will pop into my head that just fits perfectly with a certain character. And I feel like I have to go with that because that would fit that character's personality, would fit that character's story. And then once you change that, then sometimes you have to change something else that you had planned along the way. And so, as I said, it might not always end up the way that that outline said I was originally going to. And again, that's the fun of it.
Yeah. And how do you know when that idea is a red herring versus a real true path to follow along?
Sometimes you use that idea as a red herring because of mystery, of course. It's just a feeling, I live with these characters inside my head. I've lived with them for years. They're up there every day, and you get to know them pretty well, just like you do the people in your life. And you kind of start to know what's right for them because they're such a huge part of who you are as a writer.
They kind of, you bring them, like they're already alive, but you bring them to life
Yeah.
on the page.
I bring them to life. I put them on the page.
Okay. When you are doing the actual writing and the editing and all of those things, do you have any rituals that you follow? Do you have times of the day that work better for you? Like, how do you actually do the writing process?
I actually do. During COVID, I was fortunate enough to meet on Twitter two other writers, and we were in a chat thread, and we could just tell from each other's comments that we were probably a good match. So we made a date and we met on Zoom, and we clicked. And we've been meeting now for almost 6 years. And it was originally just once a week where we would share whatever pages we'd written that week and we'd offer critiques. But over time, all writers kind of hit a stumbling block or a writer's block, and you need a little help. So almost a year ago, we decided to open up our Zoom every morning. If you could come, great. Sometimes life gets in the way, but we usually try to meet every morning, and it's just to hold each other accountable and to write. So I open up at 8:30 my time. One of them lives in London, England, and another lives in Texas. The final one is in Nebraska. We meet, we mute, we write. If somebody has a question, they unmute and say, "Hey, I need a timeout for a minute." But that's kind of become my writing ritual, is meeting every day with my other writer friends. It gives us a set time. It gives us a purpose during that time. And it also gives you support during that time. If there's any question you have or you need a suggestion about something. Now, that doesn't mean I don't write outside of that time, but that is definitely my ritual of writing each day.
So it's kind of an accountability and
Yes.
community all at the same time, especially for something that's sort of as singular as being an author, right? Like you spend so much time in your head and you're writing, and like everything is kind of within these four walls or in your head.
Most people think writing is a very solitary, effort. And in a lot of ways it is. But I have found it's really important to surround yourself with those people of like minds and like interests, because they can be your support in times of I'm stuck, I need an idea, or I just don't feel like writing, or I need a little help with this sentence sounds wrong to me. Got any ideas? And I would tell any writer to make sure you have that support system, because otherwise it can be a very solitary effort.
How do you deal with that?
Not in writing, you mean in my personal life?
Within your role as an author and all of the things. Yeah.
I have several things that I actually do. I am a huge dog lover. And so I'll take a step back from what I'm doing. I'll take them for a walk. I always feel like walking kind of helps me open up my mind and be open to other opportunities. I have a fabulous husband who's a great listener, doesn't try to fix things, which is good. He just tries to listen. And I also have a fantastic network of friends that also can support me and give me help when I need it, and build me up when I need that as well. So again, relying on others to help you through those tough times is huge.
And sometimes the others are your dogs and some fresh air and all that too, which is good, right? Like anything to do with fresh air and getting outside and movement is always going to help. And the reason that I asked the question is, I mean, the audience here is mostly coaches or people who are thinking of becoming a coach, starting a coaching business. And any venture, whether it's writing a book or whether it's building a practice, has got up times and down times, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's like just your coping strategies might help somebody in their coping strategies when they're coming to a tough time. The best thing of being an author.
Hands down, the best thing has been meeting people who love to read, people who love to talk about books. There's nothing better as an author when you're at an event and somebody shouts your name from across the room and comes running to your table and says, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're here. I've read your book. I loved it." And you get into a discussion with them about what did they love and the other books they're reading. There is nothing better for an author than to get that kind of feedback from the readers out there.
That's
Yeah.
so great.
Yeah. And it's happened a
When
couple of times, so it's been great.
did you find when you were publishing your first works that you were nervous? Like, what if this is published and it's not popular? Somebody judges me. Nobody likes it. Like, I'm the only author that they really found out I'm an imposter. Like, did you experience that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When it finally became real, I had signed the contract and we were, in the process and they'd assigned the editor and assigned the cover artist. And I was working with all these people. I had many moments where I just stopped and thought, what am I doing? Who am I? Nobody's going to want to read this. It's just my little story. So yes, multiple times. And then of course, the days before the book actually released, you have panic attacks because it's just going to sit there on Amazon. Nobody's going to buy it. Nobody's going to review it. And I'd like to say that it got easier with the second book. But then with the second book, you have exactly what you mentioned. You get that imposter syndrome feeling that, okay, yeah, I wrote the first book, but is the second one going to be as good? Will it be as well received? Can I really do this? Who wants to read my book? So I'm hoping that by book 3, which I'm working to finish now, I will have conquered all of that. But I don't know. Probably not.
I'm thinking probably not because
Yeah.
now the bar that you're measuring yourself against is a different level. And
Mhm.
it's all the more reason that now you're even more of an imposter, even more of whatever. I just think of the story that I heard of Jodie Foster, who, is such a recognized actress and director and all of, the amount of genius that she has brought to the industry. And when she won the Oscar, she thought, somebody's going to knock on my door in the middle of the night and say we made a mistake and take it away. A lifetime of achievement, a lifetime of working to hone her craft. So I think your third book, I think we're pretty sure you're going to experience some imposter syndrome.
Exactly. Especially if someone like her can have it, it's a given that I would.
That's right. That's right. They say 70% of people who experience imposter syndrome at some point.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
believe that. Mhm.
How do you deal with imposter syndrome in your world?
You turn to those people that have been supporting you this whole time.
Mhm.
They reassure you. They reassure you that, yes, book 1 was good. Yes, book 2 is good. Book 3 is going to be just as good too. You've got this. I sometimes will go back and reread some of the reviews just to kind of give you that boost of self-confidence that you need from people who have left the reviews about how they felt about the first ones. I do a lot of deep breathing, do a lot of self-talk to get me through it. And then I've always been the kind of person that once I decide I'm going to do something, I just put my head down and I do it. So I then get back to the business of actually writing that book.
Okay. Okay. So interesting. Like these things that feel like no big deal are actually some of the most useful tools to overcome these kinds of hurdles. I
Yeah.
love it. Well, so Jodi, our time here is short. I would love to share more about you with the audience. Can you tell people how they can find out more about you, where they can find your books, and all of those wonderful things?
I would be happy to do that. My books right now are on Amazon in both ebook and paperback. And for those of you who know where I live, there's a community bookstore that also has my books on the shelf. So be sure to stop in and see them. If you want to know more about me and my journey as a writer, I do have a website with a blog. It's myjourneytothebookshelf.com. And I post as often as I can. And so you could read more about me, my journey, and even some things about my personal life.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jodi. I appreciate the conversation. It was interesting. And, whether you're a coach building a business or you're an author just getting started or established author, we have this common ground. How do we deal with rough times? How do we deal with imposter syndrome? And I just appreciate your honesty and your vulnerability and sharing with the listeners how you manage those things. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of She Coaches Coaches. If this conversation resonated, take a moment to reflect on what stood out and how it connects to where you are right now. Coaching businesses grow through clarity and thoughtful choices, not pressure or hustle. If you'd like more support, you can learn more at stepintosuccessnow.com. I'll put the link in the episode notes. And if you found this episode helpful, I'd appreciate it if you would share it with a peer or colleague who would enjoy it as well. I appreciate you being here. Have a great day.